Welcome to this week's episode of B.A.Showoff, the Dance Lifestyle Podcast. I'm Becky.
And I'm Alexandra. And whether you're a dance coach, parent of a dancer, or dancer yourself, this is the show for you.
Today we're going to be talking about the 3-season dance team: coaches, choreographers, and consultants.
So since we've already dabbled into consulting and choreography with our last 2 episodes, maybe we should get started on talking a little bit about the importance of the coaches.
So being a coach, one of the most important things is having your team set up from the beginning of the year and what your goals are going to be. So sitting down and knowing what the expectations are for your team, what you're going to be doing throughout the year, having your calendar set up, and just knowing your day-to-day. So as a coach, usually what I do is I start off my year probably around April when I do tryouts, and then I continue the year with knowing what we're going to be doing for camp, what our dates are going to be for competition, and setting up our rehearsals for the year with my calendar. So do you kind of do the same thing?
Very similar. I pretty much start around April as well. I do have my auditions in April. And then normally right after auditions, I have a parent meeting to kind of get everybody on the same page. We review our contracts. We talk about important dates throughout the year, what my expectations are. And I kind of do like a get to know the team. So the girls get together, they get to know each other. And then I actually do like a parent get together so that the parents get to know each other. I'm very different, and some might call me crazy, but it works for me. I normally like to start at least one of my dances in May, partially because I like getting the girls, going pretty quickly and pretty early, and, just kind of getting a jump start and everything. It already creates a little bond for them from the start, and it gets us prepped right before camp too. Because then
you bring in your choreographer that early in the year already?
Yeah, normally I do. I try to get at least one dance done, partially because I really do like to have my choreographer really fresh-minded. Normally these choreographers go from, school to school, hopping around, and it could fry them out, and I understand that. So I like having them come in early, give us their fresh ideas, get my girls on that page so that I have all summer, even though I don't rehearse it all summer, but I can watch my video all summer. Just kind of get to see what it is. Maybe I feel like I need to change that. Maybe I want my choreographer to take a second look at that. And then I have them come back in August, and they just go ahead and have their second round of revamping and taking a look at the piece, making changes. And then that's when I'll start cleaning.
So for me, it doesn't work that way. For me, it's a little different. I start the year in April also. I'll have my tryouts in April. And I don't see my kids too much between our tryouts and camp because I'm still closing out the year. I do a lot at school, so the year is a little busy. We're still closing out all the end of the year things. But we'll do some fun stuff, and we do some little practices. We practice drill downs. I do start at that point as a coach. I think that it's important that you plan really early on, and I do start at that point already knowing what my year will look like. I look at my calendar. I set our practice schedules. I set our intensive schedule. So, I start looking for master teachers to come in and teach during those 2 weeks I do intensives. And usually I'll give them the whole summer off also. So we'll go to camp. Camp, like I said in the other episodes, camp for me is like a fun time, and when they kind of get to know each other and they bond. And I, as a coach, try to see what my team is going to be like and what the needs are going to be. So there's some teams that I'm like, oh my gosh, this team is going to need a lot of, extra help with turns, or this team is going to be the type of team that's going to need, more time with choreography. They're not going to catch on as quickly, or, whatever it is. I try to base it on what I see at camp and what I've seen in the practice that we had up to there. And then from that point, I'll start planning my year. So when it comes to choreographers, I already kind of know what my choreographers are going to be for next year, but that's different from year to year, I think. And when I first started the team, I think most coaches do the same thing. When you first start a dance team, you're the choreographer, you're the coach, you're the consultant, you're the dance teacher, you're the everything. You're the costume designer. You cut your own music. Yeah, you make you rhinestone everything. You cut your music. So as you grow as a coach and your team continues to grow, other things come into play. So coaches, if these are your first years, we were all there. We've all been there.
Alone.
No, we all played that, every single role. You wear many hats, and, you're successful doing it, and you learn what you're good at and what your strengths are, and you learn what your strengths are not. And that's where you start finding people to come in and help. So assistant coaches are so important. If you could get alumni to come in and just, help out, volunteer to just help you with the team, that's a great way to get started with having an assistant. And then looking for your choreographers, because, I started choreographing my own dances, but as I did it for a couple of years, I realized I can't do this all by myself. So that's when I started getting choreographers to come in. And I was very lucky because one of my first choreographers was an alumni, Ricky Ruiz. Shout out to Ricky Ruiz, one of my favorite people. He amazing. He really was, the one that got us moving along there in the dance team world. And, I even got to bring him back last year to be a consultant. So for many years, he was by my side and helped with some amazing routines. One of my favorite all-time routines, actually I have two of my favorites that he did. Sigh No More.
Great one.
That one was one of my favorite. And Gold. Those two routines,
For me, I think it was Piano and Gold.
Oh, Piano's another
So
beautiful
good.
one. So yay, Ricky, you're amazing.
We love you.
And then hip hop kind of started in dance team. Back then UDA only had jazz, and when hip hop started, it was like trying to find hip hop choreographers, and that was a struggle for a couple years. But then I got really lucky because one of my alumni as well, Brandon Bryant, he his senior year actually, he choreographed the hip hop routine. And it was our first national championship was him. So shout out to Brandon Bryant.
We love you too.
For being so amazing as a senior in high school to have choreographed that hip hop dance, and we won our first jacket with you doing it.
Wasn't it the flight attendants?
The flight attendants.
The best.
Yeah, Kuda Air it was called.
Kuda Air, that's what it was.
One of my favorite costumes too. But he did such a great job, and I brought him back year after year after year, and he was just so amazing. His energy is just fabulous. So hopefully I could bring both of them on here soon to be on the podcast, because I think they both would be great, both Ricky Ruiz and Brandon Bryant. And,
True icons.
they're still both in the dance world and still doing amazing things. So, and then moving on, as you start, growing as a dance team, you start trying to find other choreographers. And I was lucky enough again to have an alumni, Ricky Ubeda. He started choreographing my JV routines. And when Ricky Ruiz stepped back, he came in and started doing my varsity. I've had him doing varsity now, I want to say it's 6 years that he's done my varsity team. And again, he's been incredible. What a great choreographer, what a vision he has. And, just his movement quality, it transfers onto my dancers so nicely. So I think that finding that choreographer that connects with your dancers is amazing. Like you really need to do that. And sometimes it takes time to, you go through different choreographers till you find the right one. It doesn't mean that they're not amazing, because they could be amazing choreographers, but for them to connect with your dancers is very important. Yeah. And I think for them to connect with the coach and, for you to have a relationship and have that, I think it's really important as well. But you really want your dancers to have that connection with your choreographer. So again, I got very lucky in that sense. I also got extremely lucky when I found Sammy McFadden, which that wasn't as easy, because I was trying to find hip hop, and hip hop choreographers are very hard to find. And I found Tribe, and I had heard about Tribe, and they were out there for a couple of years, and I'd seen some dances that had come to UDA. I'm like, they're doing some great things, so I went onto their site, and they didn't have as many choreographers when I first went on to find Sammy, but they had, a nice chunk to choose from, and it was nice because they had their picture and they had like their bio. And so what I did is I'm like, if I'm going to be finding a new choreographer, I really want to research and find the right one, because I always loved that I had my alumni being my choreographers. And Sammy, when I read her bio, I just loved everything about her. She was a ballet-trained dancer. She was Studio World. She had done convention, like jump and things like that, which is what my dancers are very, big on. And my dancers are big studio dancers. They do all those conventions. So I loved that she was like that as well. And then to top it off, she was college dance team at LSU, which was like, wow, when it comes to hip hop, LSU. So I'm like, this is the perfect fit. So I reached out to Try, connected with Sammy, brought her in, and it was like a marriage made in heaven. It was amazing getting Samantha
Sammy.
McFadden. She was a ball of energy, like this little tiny little thing with all this energy.
And you're the complete opposite. You have no energy.
Well, I know I have energy, but the older I get, the less I have. And it was great, that breath of fresh air, because she just, like I said, she was a fireball. She came in and immediately connected with my kids. I loved the way she sat and talked to them. I loved how she learned their names right off the bat. She sat down, she tried to learn everybody's name, and she's from, she came from Louisiana. So she, this Miami world was very different to her. Like just her being able to say the names was just very entertaining. How she would change people's names, and she would change them, and it would just stick for the next couple of years. That was the girl's name, and we just went with it. So she brought great assistants with her, which I got very lucky with as well. She had these great assistants that came, and my kids were just exposed to amazing choreography, but amazing people. And again, it was a choreographer that not just was she super good at what she did, because she really was, but she just connected with them, and I could just tell that she cared about my kids. And so I think that that's so important, that when you have a choreographer, that there's somebody that really cares, because if not, your kids don't mesh as well, and they can feel it. They can feel the love that the choreographer has and the passion that they have, and it just makes the kids want to do more and dance better for them,
Well, I was going to say that one of the best things about, I see it specifically with Sammy from your choreographers, but all of your choreographers, but it really is to sit back and look at like when somebody is so passionate about their product and like constantly wanting to, put their all into it. And really, you have it with all of them, with Ricky, with Valeria, with Sammy. Like you see how much they really put their all into it, and how it's not just let me give you choreography and walk away. It's I want to give you the absolute best thing that I could. And working with talented dancers is hard.
It is.
You can't just give them whatever. Like you have to challenge them at the same time that you're trying to get your product to read on a stage.
Yeah, and you have to challenge from year to year. So like for Sammy coming back, and she brings these amazing dances and incredible choreography, and just her visuals, just the way the dances move from one thing to the next. It's just so clean the way that happens. To come back the next year, okay, let's do something better, and that's really, really hard. Same thing with Ricky. When Ricky comes in, it's like, okay, well, how are you going to top last year? And to top from year to year, it takes a lot. And it takes a lot out of the choreographer, and it's an appreciation as a coach that I think that you have to have, in that, your choreographers come in and they have to be better, and they think about and they spend time trying to figure out what's the best piece for this dance. And then they come in and they put their all in there. And if you don't have that as a coach, if you don't have a choreographer that's coming in like that, then, maybe consider finding somebody else, because that's just as important as having strong choreography, is that you have a choreographer that comes in for you, that this is not just a job, that it's not just coming in and saying, okay, I'm getting my money and I'm going, and good luck with it, and they move on. That they have a passion, that they love what they're doing, and they check in, that they come back, they try to make it better, because it is very hard as a coach. You've got to make those changes, and you've got to make that dance better. And as the year goes on, your dancers get stronger. So now the dance, okay, well, now it's, it's too simple for them, or, this formation doesn't work anymore, or this dancer doesn't make it over there, whatever it is. And having a choreographer that is invested in making all those changes and all those necessary moments happen, and making the dance harder, that's a big deal. And it makes the coach's life so much easier when they have a choreographer that's like that.
Well, and as coaches, we fall in love with our kids. We love our kids, and we spend day in, day out looking at videos and like trying to figure out how we're going to adjust, and having a choreographer that's on that same page with you and loves your kids as much as you do, it makes such a difference. I've always had great, incredibly talented choreographers. I've worked with Kristen Daniels, who hopefully will have her on here soon. I've worked with a bunch of amazing choreographers, and I had recently. So unfortunately, a few years ago, I wasn't able to bring Kristen back. And I remember I was beside myself. I was like, what am I gonna do? Like, Kristen was this incredible choreographer who loved my kids, and my kids loved her. And I got really, really lucky. I remember that I had come to you and I had said, I don't know who to bring. And I remember you told me, you were like, maybe you should try this guy, Nathan Cherry. He's really good. And I was like, I know. I heard he worked with LSU, but I don't know. I don't know if he's like very seasoned. He hasn't done a lot. And we kind of like dropped the conversation after that. And fast forward a few weeks later, I went up to UCF to go with my cousin to one of the UCF clinics. And I was sitting there and I was talking to Joyce, the head coach over at UCF. And I was talking to her a little bit, and then she's like, so what are you going to do for this next year? And I was like, I'm looking at some new choreographers. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to bring in my new choreographers. So I've been kind of looking at new hip hop choreographers. And she was like, well, who are you thinking? And I was like, I don't know. I had talked to my mom about possibly bringing in Nathan Cherry, but I don't know. And like, her eyes opened wide. And Joyce, very animated. She's another ball of energy.
Yeah, another ball of energy.
We love her. And she like grabs me off of my seat, runs me over, grabs this random girl and like throws us outside and was like, talk. And I was like, okay. And she like ran away. So I had no idea what to even talk about. And it was Giovanna, which is Nathan's girlfriend. And she at the time she was about to graduate from UCF. So I went over to her and I was like, oh, I was just talking to Joyce about bringing in a new hip hop choreographer. I had mentioned to her Nathan Cherry, and she's like, oh, that's my boyfriend. And I was like, oh, no way. She's like, yeah, we've been, choreographing together. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And I had mentioned from before that I didn't really want to leave Tribe. Like, I love Tribe. I think they're such a great company to work with. And I didn't even bring it up to her. And she was like, who have you worked with before? I was like, I worked with Kristen Daniels through Tribe 99, and I absolutely love her. She's like, oh, we just signed with Tribe 99. So it was like, yeah, God came down and just
marriage made in heaven.
Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh. And I remember even calling Kristen after, and I was like, I had heard about, this guy, and she was like, I've heard nothing but great things. And I remember our very first meeting together, I had basically texted him right then and there. She was like, DM, I'm on Instagram. So I messaged him right there, and within 5 minutes he messaged me. He was like, I'm absolutely interested. And he was like, I haven't gotten any jobs yet through Tribe, so I know you have to go through all the politics and that. And within a week, we had a meeting set up. And I had spoken to Carson about it, and she was like, yeah, absolutely. I think we can totally put your faith in him.
For those who don't know, Carson is the owner of Tribe 99. So very hands-on coaches. If you need a choreographer and you want to go through Tribe, Carson is very hands-on, very inspirational. She's great. I mean, she will help find the best choreographer for your team.
She's amazing and so knowledgeable.
Very.
But yeah, so I had my meeting with Nathan, and I remember one of the first things he said was, and he was very quiet, that he talks like this.
Yeah.
And he was like, and I'm normally very shy, I'm not very loud. And I was like, oh, don't worry, my kids are gonna get that out of you. And the first day he got there, I mean, it was like instant chemistry with him, with Giovanna, and the kids. Like, they were obsessed with each other from the start. And really, it was such an incredible experience because I could tell how much he and Jovi loved my kids. The way that you can only imagine. The way that Sammy does, the way that Ricky does, it was perfect. And then I also, this year, I took a chance on Andrew Mulet, which Andrew is my jazz choreographer. He's amazing. He's so great. And same thing. He came in and he was just instantly loved these kids, was so hands-on. I would send videos throughout the year, and I would make a change and say, what do you think of this change? And he'd be like, I love it. Or maybe we could do this. Maybe we can do that. And just change things up. And he would send videos of himself doing choreography. And he would send so much positive feedback. No matter what it was, the girls could be falling on their butts, and he would be like, they looked so much stronger. They looked so great. That fall was fabulous. Just so positive, so good. And the girls adore him. So I got really, really lucky this year. I've always been really lucky, but this year it was great. I had such a great experience, and I'm really excited to bring them back this year.
Yeah, and then I think that for your kids, it just gets them more excited when they do have that connection, when they do find those choreographers that care about them and are talented, and just want them to do better. So that's half the success for your team, is that choreographer being connected with your kids. And then I do now game day, which game day is a whole other level of things. But I got lucky there too with Tribe 99 that they had great game day choreographers. So I brought Caitlin Conley for the past couple of years, and Caitlin is just, the sweetest thing in the world.
Ever for my JV
and
team.
You were able to connect with her, and she's just the sweetest things. And we'll have her here soon. We'll have a podcast with her so that everybody out here gets to know her also. And then for the first time, I worked with London from LSU, who she was incredible. She came in to work with my JV, and I was floored at how quickly she put the dance together, and what an amazing dance she gave. And my JV did game day for the first time this year, and got first place. So she was just incredible. So I got to give my applause to Tribe for just having these incredible choreographers over there and just constantly bringing in great people, and connecting me with the right team. With the right people, because my team, it's not something that you could just say, hey, here, you go and choreograph that team. I think that you need to know what the team is about and what the team's history is and what their styles are to be able to give them the right choreographer, and they really are really good about doing that.
Well, and I think one of the cool things about Tribe, too, is that you don't necessarily need to do all the research yourself either. Sometimes you can go in completely lost and say, I want a jazz choreographer, but I don't know. And they put in the work of, basically getting to know what you want, looking at your team, past videos of your team, and they end up connecting you with somebody. That's exactly how it worked out with Kristen Daniels for me. It was, I had no idea who I wanted. I knew that a lot of choreographers had also worked with you, but I wanted somebody different from you. And Kristen, they connected me with Kristen, and instantly we hit it off. And she really did. She took my team from, we hadn't even made it to finals that year, to making top 10 that year. And it was so great. She had done an incredible job. And that was all thanks to Tribe, just basically matchmaking us.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to do any work for it.
Yeah.
So it was great.
Yeah, and I think that I have a JV team, and so do you. I know that everybody doesn't, but I think for those teams who do have JV, it's expensive bringing in these choreographers and doing all that. So it's worked really well for me to have my alumni to come back, and doing it through JV is always a great start. So that's how I started with Ricky Ubeda. He came in and he worked with JV first, and he did them for a couple of years, and he did a great job with them, and then was able to move into varsity. And then and I've been using now Valeria for the past, I want to say 7 years maybe, or 6 years also. And she's, again, loves my kids, and she was on the team. So she basically started choreographing for me right when she got off the team. She graduated, and I immediately started bringing her in. I brought her in right after she graduated. I want to say, actually, no, this was 5 years. It's been 5 years. She came in and she did it with another girl that was an alumni also. And then the following year, all by herself. And she just did an incredible job. And it's cool to watch her growth as well. Mm-hmm. So, you give them the opportunity as an alumni to come in and work with your team, and you keep them around, and they become like your right-hand person, and they grow, and you see them, you saw them grow throughout high school, and now you see them grow as a choreographer. And it's just so rewarding as a coach to see that I get to help her and watch her continue her passion. And from working with my dancers, she's been able to now choreograph for other teams. She has colleges reaching out to her now. So, it's so wonderful to be able to see that. And, to be part of somebody else's success.
I was able to bring in, for the past couple of years, I've been able to bring in Valeria to come and help my team do some consulting work, and she's just incredible. She just does, she has such a good eye. She really does, take a look at, what it is that these dances need, and she just knows exactly what to do. And she connects so well with everybody.
Yeah, and it's hard because for as choreographers, you have a specific style. You know, the choreographer, there's a specific style that they, you know, movement quality that they have, and it's just in them. So it's hard for them to come back year after year. If you're going to continue using the same choreographer, that they're going to come back and it's not going to look the same.
Right.
And it's going to be something completely different. And then when you've got choreographers that choreograph for a lot of different teams, are their choreography looking like yours? Like, is you know, does it all like kind of look the same? So that's really hard to find choreographers that don't do that. And
That's what I loved about having Nathan and Andrew. For me, it was they were fresh. Like, I think Andrew had worked with Tennessee for a little bit, but like nobody in high school used him. He had only worked with Tennessee before. Nathan, I was his very first choreography, like, for the whole year. So like it actually ever, like in dance team, aside from LSU that he helped do that little section. But that was what I loved the most. It was very underrated. People didn't know too much about them. And now, you know, now both of them are getting their names out there and it's so exciting to watch. But you were like the first.
Yeah, because it was his first choreography, and then he gets his first white jacket with you. So that's, you know, that's very special for him.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure that
I was so happy for him.
He's gonna want to come back and do something now even better. And how great that is for you. That, you know,
well, we've
he's
already
just
started
excited.
talking. Get ready, it's so exciting. I'm so excited.
And then I'm trying to think what other great my JV hip hop choreographers, Emily Placida and Kalia Kohler. Oh,
Which Kalia works with my JV too. So good.
That's another thing that I'm lucky because I get people like that. They come together.
Yeah.
And I think when you have two choreographers working together, so like Emily and Kalia, they're like opposites completely. Like when I first got them to come in, I was like, oh my gosh, they're totally different. Like Emily's very, you know, more contemporary dancer. You could just tell she's very organized. She's, you know, very calm. And then Kalia is like, you know, she's got like all this energy and she's like, come on. And she's like, you know, yells to the kids and she gets them excited. So like they're totally different, but their chemistry together is just unbelievable. The way that they're able to like work together, they're being so opposite, their energy, like it just works. It works so well. And you know, Sammy does too. She brings Naj, which Naj is another amazing, amazing human being. I love her. And she just, that chemistry, it rubs off on my kids. So my kids look forward to, you know, when they have these different people coming in, because they could just feel like all these people are here to help me. All these people want us to win. Like it's, you know, you've got these people like just backing you up and just, you know, making you more confident. So all those choreographers, there's so many out there. There's so many amazing choreographers. You know, we're limited because we only take a certain amount of dances to nationals, but there's so many choreographers out there that are so successful and so great. It's just a matter of finding them and going through Instagram and going through social media and looking at videos and looking at what they've done and you know, meeting with them and talking with them to see who's going to be the best one for my team.
Well, and I do think that now the dance team industry is getting a lot bigger. It's, you know, now a lot of those studio trained choreographers are starting to take interest in what is dance team all about, which Sammy, Nathan, Jovi, Andrew, even Valeria, like all of them really didn't. I mean, Valeria a little bit more because she was on team, but they, you know, they had a lot more of an artistic side to them, and they've brought it into the dance team world, understood the structure of dance team, such as visuals, formation changes, fluidity in choreography, but then bringing that artistic style into their choreography, so that makes all of their choreography very different. Ricky isn't, you know, you saw what he did for Ohio State, something so different, but, you know, it worked so well on that stage because he understands both. So that really is, I think, now kind of the direction that dance team's going. And
for choreographers, especially the ones that are not, they're not involved in the dance team world, it is hard doing a dance team choreography. It's 2 minutes. In 2 minutes, you've got to wow the audience and judges. And there's no on and off. It's not like, okay, let me just work. These three can do this amazing thing, so everybody else off the stage and so not you three come in. It's everybody on the stage dancing together, making those formation changes, giving you those visuals, not making it look linear, but still has to be like that kind of structure. It has to be very clean. It has to be very precise. There's just so much that goes into it that these choreographers, they're, you know, from the studio world, they're being challenged. And I think that for them, it's, you know, they're up for the challenge. It's like, okay, yeah, I could do it. You know, my artistic ability, I could definitely come up with, a 2-minute wow dance for Dance Team World. So it's interesting to see all these choreographers that are moving into the Dance Team World, and how great when you go to competition, all these amazing dances that you're seeing now, they're just so visual and just so artistic at the same time. It's cool to watch.
And this is probably definitely a hot take, but I actually think one thing about UDA that I really do admire a lot is their rules. Things that the girls can't do on stage, or not just girls, but that the kids can't do on stage. So tricks, things like that. And it just kind of pushes the choreographers to be that much more creative on how can I get around these rules?
Yeah.
And how could I figure out how to do it? Yeah. I mean, obviously, as a coach, sometimes it's frustrating. But then I think that's probably one of the things that's the coolest about going to UDA, is seeing that, you have all these rules. What's going to be the next cool thing that you're going to do to get around that, and just like innovative?
Yeah, you got to read between the lines.
Yeah.
And I'm all about like hip hop choreography being, the style, and really hip hop dancing. I love real hip hop dancing. And sometimes the tricks take over.
Yeah.
And some teams it's trick. And it's impressive what the tricks are and what your team could do. But I like to see dancing. I like the pure hip hop movement. And I know that's hard. I know it's hard to find choreographers that, have that style and aren't going to stick to tricks. And I gotten very lucky with Sammy, because she's very about style. I get nervous from year to year, and that, oh my gosh, if we have no tricks, is that going to be okay? Are the judges going to want to see tricks? I think that there's years that, it hurt that we didn't have tricks, because, teams that would win was a lot of tricks. So I'm thinking, oh my God, maybe the judges want tricks. But really, as a coach, you can't be thinking like that. You can't be worrying about what the judges might want or what they're looking for. At the end of the day, you've got to take the piece that you think is the best for your team, and just, clean the crap out of it, and be confident in that this is the best piece. This piece is, is what I want, and be, satisfied with it, and not be so worried about what the judges are going to think.
Well, and I think for some coaches, because I agree, I love that my dance had no tricks this year. But I think that one thing that scares a lot of coaches sometimes too is that judges look for like that fundamental core hip hop technique. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there's so many different kinds of hip hop, and really, I didn't even think about it until I brought Nathan in. That is so well versed. Like he's like a hip hop dictionary, and it wasn't until like he started breaking things down for my kids that I think they even realized that even if they've been training in hip hop all their lives, some of them don't have that well-rounded vocabulary in hip hop. Yeah. And if you're going to do something that's all style, no tricks, you have to have that technical hip hop aspect to your dancing too. It's, same thing with jazz. If you're going to do a beautiful lyrical dance with gorgeous legs, you can't do, a leg grab and have your foot sickled and your toes flexed. Like, you just can't. It's just not
kind
the
of
way
hard, sickled foot and flexed.
I know. I'm thinking about it. It's a little hard. It's uncomfortable. But like, you just can't. You have to have the right technique. And I think that a lot of people don't think about it with hip hop. And it really, I didn't fully think about it until this year when my girls didn't even have tricks to rely on.
Well, I think that coaches probably need to spend some time doing hip hop training. Yeah. So bringing in these guest teachers, like somebody like Nathan, we brought him in for a big master class this year, and all the kids that took his class were just floored by him, because he was just such a great mover, and it was so cool to take class from him. He was just so different. So I think that, bringing in those master teachers and bringing in different teachers to teach the styles will just help your kids in the long run. And doing that early on, like we were talking about, that we do those 2-week intensives or intensives right before the year starts. Those are your training weeks. Those are weeks to like just really hit your kids with as much technique and training as possible before the year even starts. It gets them going. Right. And I think that hip hop is just as important to bring in those hip hop teachers as it is to bring in, a contemporary teacher and a technical teacher for, a ballet teacher. Because if you're going to be competing hip hop, your kids need to be taking hip hop class.
Yeah. And I mean, and we talked about this in one of our last episodes too, that the importance of the kids training together. Mm-hmm. as much as you want to take those 2 weeks and every single opportunity you have with them to clean your dances, to perfect them, you get to do that all year. But you have those 2 weeks before, or however many weeks other teams have it, where you are able to just train, take full advantage, because they really do, like, they grow together in the more classes they take together versus let's just clean and rehearse these dances and do all that. Like, you're going to be doing that all year.
And then, like we were saying, coaches, like, it's not just choreographers, but you want to bring in consultants. Mm-hmm. And, consultants are so important. If you're going to bring in somebody to help you out, first of all, they need to be knowledgeable on whatever they're going to be helping you in. So if you bring in a hip-hop consultant, somebody that has those hip-hop skills. You're bringing somebody for your jazz dance, somebody who has those jazz technique skills. And that they probably were a choreographer at some point or do choreograph at the time, because that helps when you're stuck. You bring in somebody to help you and, okay, so we're stuck in this part for whatever reason. This is not working. We need to make it fixed and, whatever we need to do here. And if they don't have that choreography experience, they're going to struggle helping you. So, and it could be somebody who's young. I mean, they don't have to be like a famous choreographer. It doesn't have to be like like bring in Sammy to do your hip hop choreography consulting work for you, even though she'd be phenomenal to do that. But somebody who can help you, like, be there by your side, even if it's like 2 or 3 rehearsals, just getting you through one section, then to the next section, so that, your dance is moving along. I always feel like, 2 eyes, are not enough. 4 eyes, that's better. 6 eyes, better. Like, the more you have on your dance, the more people that get to, watch it and give you feedback, the better it is for when you get on stage.
And I know that so many coaches like having their dances like very, like, they don't like showing it until it gets on stage to anybody. And I feel like I did that for a little while. I feel like I was a lot more like reserved with my pieces. And I think I was like that for maybe the first 2 years. I think I showed you and like Dani Solano. That was it. And I didn't like showing other people. And I think that the more experience I got, the more I realized that, there's so many people and it really does take a village that you could bring in to just like give you that little bit of feedback. And it might not be a huge drastic change, but it could be something as simple as an arm that just makes the biggest difference.
Yeah, and really, Dani and Valeria are both excellent at that.
So good at that.
Both of them are so good at bringing in, their style into anything that you ask them to.
But still keeping that core of what the choreographer has.
Yeah. And we've both also brought in Brandon Chang. That he doesn't dance anymore, but he was always great with like those little moments that I needed. I need something here. I need a highlight moment here, or I need a level here, and he would just like. His movement was just so clean and perfect always, and that he just added that little extra. So
and he's so good at cleaning.
He's so good at cleaning, so good at cleaning. And that's another thing. If you find a consultant who is good at cleaning, bring them in because cleaning is such a long process. It does take so long to get through it. And as a coach, you get stressed out and you get worried, and at some point everything just starts blending and everything starts looking great, and you bring in that consultant to just give that another little cleaning moment, and they catch something that you didn't catch. I don't know how many times I would bring in Dani and she would catch something. I'm like, oh my God, I've watched this 1,000 times and I never noticed that she was doing the wrong arm. And Dani's like, it's so obvious, it's just happening. So yeah, I think that you're bringing in those consultants, that should definitely be part of the curriculum that you do with your dance team. Find time in the schedule. Okay, well, the 3rd week of December is going to be, consulting week. And that's the week I'm going to bring in somebody every single day to, do consulting for me. And again, those are things that you can do through, there's so many different companies, not just Tribe, but there's so many like Tribe that I'm sure that if you start going through social media, you find them to go ahead and come in, and that's what they do. That's, and some of them just even do it through video, which, after COVID, that's something that just became so normal, like doing video consulting.
I did that this year with Terri Rowe, and it was great. And it was just 1 session per dance. So I had 2 sessions with her, and she just sat there with me, basically told me this part needs to be cleaned this way. This formation needs to spread out more, whatever it was, just virtual consulting. And it was like for an hour and a half each dance. And it was so helpful. I was able to, it was also like nice validation, because I'd be like, so I don't know if I'm happy with this part. What do you think? And she'd be like, I think that part's great. I'm like, okay, fine. We're going to keep it.
Yeah, that's right. You just sometimes just need somebody there telling you. It's fine because, again, it's not that you're not confident in what you're doing. You are confident and you're like, I know I'm a good coach. Or I know I'm doing a good job. I know my dancers are good. I know that this is good. It's just having that one more person to tell you, yes,
right,
looks good, or no, not yet. At the end of the day, everything that we do, it's all, it's the judge's perspective at the moment. So it's really not, it's no rhyme or reason to it sometimes. It's not black and white. It really is, what they feel, what they like, what they don't like. And you just have to give your best product, put it out there, what you like, what you think is going to work, and just, hope that the judges like it as much as you do.
Yeah, and I think that at the end of the day, the more people you bring in, the closer they get to what the judges are really going to want. Yeah. But, I think that a lot of it is just bring in as many people as you can, because it's also going to open up and broaden your kids' horizons too on things they need to work on. They might get advice from one consultant that they've never heard before, but it changes their lives. And I think that needs to be the most important part, is what's going to make it better for the kids, or what's going to make them feel more ready for the stage. Because I do also think that consultants coming in and saying that looks so much better also just feeds off to the kids, and they feel it, they know it, so they get on stage feeling confident and saying, this is the best that my dance has ever looked, and I'm going to go on there and perform my absolute best.
Yeah. And I think also when you hire choreographers, they need to do their research. They need to know what competitions you're going to, so that they choreograph for that competition. Every competition is different, and the teams that win are not necessarily going to win. One competition, not necessarily going to win the other competition. I've thought, year after year, that if I would take my exact dance to another competition, like, Dance Team Union Nationals, I might not win Dance Team Union Nationals because my dance is not made for that competition. Right. I have, limitations. I have music that I can't use. I have, certain tricks I can't do, or certain, rules that I have to follow. So I do that for UDA. Now, if I'm going to go compete at Dance Team Union, or I'm going to compete at, other competitions like Contest of Champions or the American All-Star, whatever it is, every competition is a little different. And your choreographer has to know that competition and what they're looking for. Has to know the rules, has to know the time limit, has to know, who won last year in that division, what teams are, have won the past couple of years, what did you place the year before, where did you go? Like all those things, they need to know that. And a choreographer who's really invested is going to do their homework before they come in, so that they know what they're getting themselves into. So, I've had choreographers come in and really not do their research with me and not really know what my team is about, and come and just, give me a dance, and that's not going to work. Like I need something that's going to take my team to the next level. I need my JV to be choreographed on, like if they're a varsity team. I need my varsity team choreographed like if they're a college team. Like I will push them to be at that level, but the choreography has to be at that level as well. So every team is different. Making sure that your choreographer understands that and is ready for whatever your team needs, that's so important.
Well, and I also think on top of that, they also need to research your own team from like videos of your teams from previous years, and videos of teams that you compete against.
Yes.
So that they see what your competition is, and whether you're placing in first or you're placing in seventh, whatever it is, that what's going to make you number one.
Yep.
What is it that your competition's doing that might be outdoing you, or what are you outdoing from your competition that you need to continue with? Whatever it is, but they need to be in the now with what's going on in your division.
Yeah, no, definitely, because if they don't see, okay, these are the teams you got, let's say third place this year, and these are the teams that got first and second. If that choreographer doesn't know what those teams look like, they don't know how much to push your kids. So if they look in and they research, looking, these are the teams that were better than you last year. These are the teams that beat you. This is where you were at. They know now, okay, we need to be at least as good as the first place team was last year, if not better, in order for you to have a chance to be first place. And every choreographer should come in with that desire for your team to be a first place team.
Right. I remember I was actually talking about this with one of my kids the other day. We came in fourth in jazz, and we were so happy. But then I was explaining to them, I'm like, now we need to look at what the difference is between fourth place and first place. What is it that, what were the things that made the biggest difference? And that's what we need to push for. That's what we need to work on. And that goes with the team itself and the choreographer needs to look at that. What's the difference?
Yeah, and no, and even the year that you win, you still need to know. Okay, I got first place. Second place was here. How close is second place to me? What were they lacking? They're going to come back and they're going to want that first place because every team wants that.
And
so,
what are things that they maybe scored higher than
exactly.
us in? And you know, like that you have to keep it going. You can't just
you got to look at the data. You got to look at the data. Coaches, we're not just here to just sit down and look pretty and be like, oh yeah, everything's great. No. You've got to do your research and you've got to look at everything before the year starts and be ready for what's coming up. And you know, we have social media now and things are out there. You can look at all these videos. You could go back and see, you know, the past 3 years, what the teams have been winning, what they've been doing so that you're ready for the following year when you come in. I mean, every year somebody, you know, new comes in and you're like, wow, where did that team come from?
Yeah.
And then you're like, I'm going to have to step it up again because somebody else is coming and they've got all of the things needed to be a first place team. So now you've got to come back and you've got to try even harder.
Yeah.
And sit with your kids, and have them be a part of picking the choreographer, have them be a part of the process. I think if you give them the opportunity to, hey, look, so let's look at choreographers. What do you think about this one? What do you think about this? And look into it. I think that, you know, you'd be surprised at how much the kids could help in getting the right choreographer for them.
Yeah, and I think at the same time they really understand what they need. What did they lack from other choreographers that they really need from a new choreographer? I think that these kids really are a lot more in tune with this than we give them credit for.
Oh, for sure.
For
sure they
are. They could run their own podcast.
They absolutely can. and you know, my hat's off to all the choreographers who do job after job after job and are able to, you know, bring something completely different and completely new to, you know, each team. And the ones that really do their research and really, you know, have their passion with them everywhere they go, because that's not easy. I mean, you know, I just have to deal with my two teams, my kids, my two teams, you know, my 47 kids, that's it. I just got them. And, you know, it's easy compared to what the choreographers have to do, that they have to come in and work with, you know, 15, 20 kids and then go on to the next job and work with another 15, 20 kids and give that same energy and then go to the next group and give that same energy and give something different. And it's a lot. So, you know, I don't think that they're given enough credit year after year. That's one of the things I sent this year to UDA in my feedback was, it's so important that the coaches' names are up there on that screen, but I think the choreographers' names need to be up there as well.
1,000%.
They need to be given credit because that's their piece. And no matter if the piece is theirs completely or if you had to make changes or, you know, if there was other people that came in and did it with them, it doesn't matter. The point is that is theirs. And they should have their name there showing, you know, I choreographed this, because at the end of the day, people want to know. I want to know. When I see some of those dances, I'm like, oh my God, I wonder who choreographed that. And I would love to know who did that. I would love to like look them up and be like, wow, I want to see more of what they do. So give those choreographers their credit because they deserve it.
Well, and I think too that it's very easy to go out there, go on the stage and do a very cookie cutter dance, a dance that, you know, is basic choreography, has basic tricks, and you go out there, you place well, and it is what it is. But these choreographers that go out there and just like are so innovative and just push the envelope all the time, like those, you have to, like, you have, people need to understand that, like, it's not just, I'm going to give you whatever product. I am putting my heart and soul into this dance. Yeah. So I totally agree.
Yeah. No, and you remember, there's those dances that you will remember forever that you're like, oh my God, I remember that year that, you know, St. Thomas More did this. I remember, you know, Westmore when they would come in and, you know, Eisenhower and Rosary. And there was all these amazing teams, Assumption and team after team that I had no idea who choreographed all their dances. But I know that I would look at their dances and be like, wow, that was incredible. Amazing. Like it made me want to watch more dancing. You know, and after all the years that I've been watching dance and I've been dance team and stuff, it takes a lot to blow me away. Yeah. So if something, you know, calls my attention, I see something, I'm floored by them, I want to know who did it.
Yeah, 1,000%. And I mean, some of the things that these choreographers come up with, like, we were talking about St. Thomas More that Shannon Mather did with them, you know, absolutely incredible. You know, even the things that your choreographers have done for you, that Ricky does, it just, that I don't understand how these products just come out of their brains.
Yeah, no,
it's hats off to them for real.
Yeah, and again, in 2 minutes. 2 minutes is, it's not a very long time, and you've got to wow people. You've got to have, I always tell my choreographers when they would start with me, the beginning needs to be wow, and the end needs to be wow. You've got to, right off the bat, just catch my attention. And at the end, I gotta want more. Like, it's gotta end. I've gotta be feeling like there's still more. I want more from them. So your opening and closing is so important. So finding that choreographer that could give you, the beginning and the ending, that just leave you like that, not easy at all. And then you gotta have the wow moment somewhere in the middle. There's gotta be a memorable moment somewhere, so that later on it's like, oh my God, the dance that did that. You need that.
I'm so glad I retired choreography. I couldn't keep up with what they do now.
Yeah. So our hats off to them. Yeah. So coaches, there's a lot for you to spend time doing and researching and doing to get your team ready for when you finally take them to competition. And it's not just about coaching them, because coaching them is so important, but it's about the process of getting them started in the beginning of the year, teaching them those classes, training them for the styles, bringing in the right choreographers to connect, bringing back your choreographers to continue connecting with them, and then bringing those consultants just to get you to the end, and find that team moment that you need. And it's with the choreographer, it's with the coach, it's with the consultant. There's so many great consultants out there that we could offer. I mean, we're lucky. We have Dani, that she's amazing. I'm super lucky. I had Melissa from Ohio State for the past couple of years come in and do some consulting and give me feedback, and it's just give me those moments that I didn't even realize I was missing in my dances. I'm just very, very lucky, and I think that every coach should have the opportunity to find those people around them that will help get them to the next level.
Yeah, and I think that start off by thinking about it in the beginning of the year, factored into your budget. Take have like a little bit of a hole in your budget that that you can have some wiggle room with. Hiring this consultant and this consultant, it makes a big difference. And I know for me, I have to budget from the beginning of the year. I have to figure out what am I going to do expense-wise for the whole year.
And stick to it.
Stick to it. I mean, I'm really lucky in that, I'm in a private school, so, my parents are very, very, very lenient with me. But I know that not everybody has that benefit. Yeah. A lot of people really are sticking to a very strict...
Yeah, because bringing in a consultant, it's like choreographer, you have to pay for their flights, you have to pay for their hotel, you have to pay for their meals, so it's and their time. So it does get costly when you start doing all that, but you've got to outweigh the importance of it for your team. How important is it for your team to have that? Is it really going to make a difference? Is it really worth it? And then start budgeting for it. Hold back on rhinestones and spend it on the consultant instead. And
maybe talk to other teams that maybe work with them, or maybe will want to work with them, that are close by. Like, I know that you and me sometimes share consultants. Yep. We share consultants too with Southwood. Gulliver, we share a little bit of the consulting, and then we're able to split. I also recommend reaching out to local studios too, because sometimes studios will want to bring them in to teach a class, and they'll be willing to split the cost of the actual like flights, things like that, hotel. So if budget is a problem for you, or something that you really need to stay very, small with, you don't have a big budget.
And there, like you said a little while ago about the videos, that's a great option. It's not as expensive, and that's a great option. If you can't afford to bring in the consultants, go for the videos. And reach out to, like we said, Tribe, and let them know, listen, I don't have much of a budget, but I really need to bring somebody in, and they will connect you with the right person to be a consultant for you, or to do the video consulting. But it's out there, and I think that that if you just start spending time doing your research, looking at the data of the teams that are doing well, what they're doing differently, and how to get your team there, it's worth the time and worth the money to bring in these consultants.
Yeah, and the more, honestly, that's so important. Bring them in, bring good people in for choreography, because it really even helps with the consultants too, that they don't need to worry about going back and making 100 different changes. If you have strong choreography from the start, it makes the biggest difference. Spend the money on the choreography. The consultants. The costumes will read beautifully if your choreography is there.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on our episode. My name is Becky.
And I'm Alexandra. And if you liked what you heard, please subscribe to our YouTube page. And if you have any questions or feedback for us, click on our link tree and fill out our Google form.
Bye, guys.
See you next time.